Have you ever wished you could erase a moment your children overheard? One you'd give anything to take back? I'll never forget the way Liam and Zoe looked at me that afternoon, or the impossible question they asked that still echoes in my mind. Outside, the sky was the color of wet cement, Portland in April, where the rain seemed to seep into every crack of the day. Against the drizzle, our neighborhood looked like a faded photograph. Rows of modest homes, front yards dotted with dandelions and tricycles, sidewalks glistening with puddles. Inside our two-story house, a little cluttered, a little lived in, was where the real storm was gathering. The kitchen hummed with the uneven rhythm of daily life. I moved from counter to sink, elbow deep in soapy water, glancing at the clock above the fridge. 5:42 p.m. Marcus was late again. The scent of simmering tomato sauce mingled with the faint tang of rain-soaked air drifting in from a slightly cracked window. Toys littered the living room floor. Plastic dinosaurs in a fierce standoff with a row of battered picture books. From the other room came the delighted shrieks and staccato giggles of my kids, Liam and Zoe. I could picture them. Liam, 8, his sandy hair perpetually messy, building a fortress for his action figures. Zoe, 6, with her wild curls and pink socks, drawing with crayons on the back of a cereal box. They were the heartbeat of the house, their chatter a soundtrack that made the chaos feel almost manageable. But underneath the comfort, tension simmered. I balanced a phone between my shoulder and cheek, trying to confirm a dentist appointment while stirring the sauce. The dishwasher beeped, demanding to be emptied. My gaze drifted to the stack of overdue bills on the counter, the numbers blurring together in a swirl of anxiety. The front door creaked open, letting in a gust of cool, damp air and the familiar sound of Marcus's keys clinking against the side table. He moved with the heavy steps of someone carrying the weight of another long day. He was still in his work clothes, creased slacks, a blue button-down, his hair a little mussed from running his hands through it. He set his laptop bag on the floor, massaging the back of his neck. "Hey!" I called, trying to sound upbeat. "You're late." He paused, eyes flicking to the kitchen, and managed a tired, lopsided smile. "Traffic was a mess. Sorry." I nodded, but my voice came out sharper than I intended. "Dinner's almost ready. Did you remember to deposit the check?" His jaw tensed just for a moment. "I didn't have time to get to the bank. I'll do it tomorrow." I tried to swallow my frustration, but it rose up anyway. "We need that deposit, Marcus. The electric bill—" He sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know, Eve. I said I'll handle it." The kids' laughter quieted in the other room, replaced by the soft clatter of blocks. I lowered my voice, tension pulsing between us. "It's not just the bills. I can't do all of this alone. Housework, the kids, appointments. I feel like I'm spinning plates and one of them is about to crash." Marcus leaned against the doorframe, shoulders slumped. "You think I don't feel that? I'm trying. Work has been insane. I barely had time for lunch. And I barely have time for anything but this house." My voice climbed without my permission, echoing off the tile. I caught myself, glancing toward the living room. "I'm sorry, I feel invisible, Marcus." He shook his head, exhaling hard. "I'm not the enemy, Evelyn." The room was thick with words we didn't say. Rain tapped against the window, steady and relentless. The aroma of sauce filled the silence, but it did nothing to soothe the ache in my chest. The only sound was the faint creak of the staircase. That's when I saw them, Liam and Zoe, perched halfway up the stairs, eyes wide and solemn. Liam's hands gripped the banister, knuckles white. Zoe pressed a stuffed rabbit to her chest, her mouth a worried line. We froze. The argument hung in the air, heavy and unfinished. I felt a cold wave of dread sweep over me. How much had they heard? How much had we let slip? Marcus noticed them too, his expression softening instantly. "Hey, kiddos. Everything okay?" Neither spoke. Liam stared at the floor, and Zoe's eyes searched my face for reassurance I couldn't quite give. I forced a smile, voice trembling. "Dinner's almost ready, sweethearts. Why don't you wash up?" They nodded, but didn't move. The silence stretched, taut as a wire. Inside, my thoughts raced. Did we just cross a line in front of our kids? How do you undo what's been said, what's been heard? I knelt down, arms outstretched, and Zoe shuffled forward, her small hand slipping into mine. She looked up at me, her eyes shining with a question too big for her age. "Mom," she whispered, tugging gently at my sleeve. "Are you and Dad?" The words hung between us, unfinished, fragile and frightening. My heart hammered in my chest as I met her gaze, knowing that nothing would ever be quite the same. Rain streaked the window, the world outside blurred and uncertain. Inside, in the soft yellow glow of the kitchen, we stood suspended, caught between what had been overheard and the question I wasn't sure I was ready to answer. The next morning, the rain was still falling, blurring the world outside our bedroom window into shifting shades of gray. I woke to the hollow clink of Marcus's mug in the kitchen, the sound of a man careful not to make noise, and the soft padding of children's feet in the hallway. My mind replayed the night before. Marcus's sharp words, my own voice tighter than I'd meant, and the stunned faces of Liam and Zoe on the staircase. The memory left a knot in my stomach that no amount of coffee could untie. I tried to move through our morning routine on autopilot. Zoe wanted her hair in pigtails, so I fumbled with the elastics while Liam quietly munched his cereal, eyes downcast. Marcus was already dressed for work, his tie slightly askew, gaze flickering from his phone to the clock, never settling on me. The silence between us pressed in, thick as the clouds outside. "Marcus, could you—" I started, but he was already reaching for his keys. "I've got a call in 10 minutes, he mumbled, avoiding my eyes. "Have a good day, okay, guys?" He dropped a quick kiss on Zoe's head, squeezed Liam's shoulder, and hesitated just a moment before glancing at me. There was something, regret, apology, exhaustion, but it vanished too quickly to name. Then the door clicked shut behind him, and the house seemed to exhale. On the drive to school, the rain lashed at the windshield. Liam and Zoe sat unusually still in the back seat, backpacks hugged to their chests. I tried to fill the silence with gentle questions. Did they finish their reading? Did they want to play soccer after school? Their answers were short, polite, and far too grown up for kids their age. At drop-off, Zoe squeezed my hand a little longer than usual. Liam lingered at the car door, peering up at me with eyes that looked older this morning. I knelt beside him, brushing a stray curl from his forehead. "Are you okay, buddy?" I asked, keeping my voice light. He nodded, but his eyes slid away. "See you later, Mom." He hurried off, shoulders hunched inside his raincoat. I watched until both disappeared inside, swallowed by the bustle of umbrella-toting parents and the shriek of the school bell. I sat in the car, rain drumming on the roof, and wondered how much damage a single argument could do. Afterwards, I tried to distract myself with errands, grocery shopping, a quick stop at the library, folding laundry that had been left in the basket for days. Nothing worked. The house felt empty, each echo a reminder of words said too loudly, and those left unsaid. I needed to talk to someone who'd understand. I found myself knocking on Fran Torres's door, 2 houses down. Fran, my friend, neighbor, and confidant, opened the door, her hair tied back in a kerchief, hands dusted with flour. The smell of baking bread filled her kitchen, warm and comforting. "Hey, Evelyn. Come in out of that rain? You look like you're carrying the weather inside you," she said, ushering me to the table. I tried to smile, but she saw through it. "Rough night?" Fran poured us coffee, her eyes kind but keen. I managed a nod. "It's Marcus," I said quietly. "We had a fight. The kids. They heard everything. I can't stop thinking about their faces." Fran reached across and squeezed my hand. "You know I've been there. Last year when Carlos lost his job, we fought more than I care to admit. Pablo hurt us once. He asked if we were getting a divorce." She shook her head, rueful. "Kids don't miss a thing, do they?" I swallowed, grateful but still anxious. "What did you tell him?" Fran's look was gentle. I told him the truth. that grown-ups argue, but it doesn't mean we love each other, or him, any less. But Evelyn, you have to forgive yourself. None of us are perfect. Her words were a balm, but the knot in my chest remained. I wish I could take it back. You can't, she said simply. But you can talk to them. You can show them it's okay to make mistakes. By the time I left Fran's kitchen, the clouds had thinned to a watery gray, but my mood hadn't quite lifted. I checked my phone. One missed call from Marcus, a text that simply read, "Sorry about last night. Can we talk later?" I typed a reply, yes, but didn't send it. I wanted to, but I didn't know how to start. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I tried to tidy up, to make the house look less like the scene of a crime, but every toy and crayon felt like a reminder of the eyes that had watched me fail. At 3 o'clock, I pulled up to the school curb. The playground was a riot of yellow slickers and splashing puddles. Zoe came barreling out first, cheeks rosy, but Liam trailed behind, alone. My heart twisted. Before I could call to him, a voice called my name. "Mrs. McAdams?" Principal Jordan Briggs stood at the entrance, raincoat unbuttoned, clipboard in hand. Her expression was serious, but not unkind. "Could I have a word?" she asked, gesturing me inside. I followed her to the small office that smelled faintly of old books and lavender air freshener. She motioned for me to sit across from her, her face lined with years of listening to worried parents. "I wanted to touch base about Liam," she began, folding her hands. His teacher noticed he was a bit quiet today, seemed distracted, not his usual self. "Is everything all right at home?" My cheeks burned. I fought the urge to apologize, to explain everything and nothing all at once. Instead, I took a breath. We had a rough night, some grown-up stuff. I think he picked up on it. She nodded, her eyes kind. "Kids are more resilient than we think, but they do need reassurance. If there's anything we can do, please let us know. Sometimes, just a little extra attention helps." I promised I would check in with him and thanked her. But as I left her office, guilt pressed down even harder. I had always prided myself on being there for my kids, being the calm in their storm. Now, I felt like I'd become the storm itself. Dinner that night was a strained affair. I made Liam's favorite, mac and cheese with little broccoli trees, but the usual chatter was missing. Zoe pushed peas around her plate. Marcus came home late, his shirt damp from the rain, eyes shadowed with fatigue. He offered a tired smile and a weak, "How was everyone's day?" But the kids barely responded. We ate mostly in silence, the clink of forks on plates echoing in the quiet. I caught Marcus's eye across the table. He looked like he wanted to say something, maybe apologize again, but the words never came. After dinner, he retreated to his laptop, claiming he had emails to catch up on. The children disappeared upstairs, leaving the dishes and the silence behind. I stood at the kitchen sink, hands sunk deep in suds, staring out at the dark, rain-soaked yard. I wondered how long this invisible wall would last, and if I was strong enough to break it down. At bedtime, I found Liam sprawled on his bed, reading a battered copy of The Magic Tree House. Something familiar, safe. Zoe was already curled up beneath her quilt, clutching her stuffed bunny. I sat at the edge of Liam's bed, brushing a hand over his hair. "Can I talk to you for a minute, honey?" He nodded, closing his book but not looking up. "About last night," I began, my voice trembling a little. Sometimes, grown-ups say things they don't mean when they're upset. Your dad and I, we're both just tired, and we made a mistake. But we love you and Zoe, more than anything. That's never going to change." He was silent for a moment, picking at a loose thread on his comforter. Then, quietly, "Are you and Dad mad at us?" My heart nearly broke. "No, sweetheart, not at all. None of this is your fault." He swallowed, eyes shining in the dim light. "Okay." I kissed his forehead, tucked him in, and crossed the hallway to Zoe's room. She was already asleep, thumb in her mouth, bunny beside her head. I lingered, smoothing her hair, wishing I could shield them both from every hard edge of the world. Downstairs, I found Marcus still at his laptop, the glow of the screen casting sharp shadows on his face. I hesitated in the doorway, wanting to reach out, but afraid of starting another argument. He looked up. "You okay?" I nodded, though it wasn't true. "I talked to Liam. He's scared, Marcus. I think we need to talk. Not just to each other, but to them." He closed his laptop, rubbing his eyes. "Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Ev. For last night. For all of it." I leaned against the doorframe, feeling a little of the tension ease. "Me too. But we have to fix this. Together." He nodded. And for the first time that day, I saw a glimmer of the man I'd married. The one who made me laugh, who held my hand in the dark. Maybe, I thought, we could find our way back. But first, we had to help the kids feel safe again. Later, as I tucked myself into bed, I replayed the day in my mind. The rain, Fran's gentle advice, Principal Briggs's concern, the look in Liam's eyes. I knew tomorrow wouldn't magically make things better, but I also knew we weren't alone. If you've ever had a difficult conversation with your family, or if you've ever worried about saying the wrong thing in front of your kids, I hope you'll subscribe and share your story in the comments below. Because the truth is, we all make mistakes. But together, maybe we can learn how to heal, one day at a time. As I turned out the light, a quiet voice from the hallway called, "Mom?" I sat up. Liam stood there, silhouetted by the glow of the nightlight, his small face serious. "Can I ask you something?" My heart beat faster. "Of course, sweetheart. Anything." He hesitated at the doorway, and for a moment the whole house seemed to hold its breath. And just as he was about to ask, the question that would change everything hung in the air, unspoken, but heavy with hope and fear. The rain had turned from a steady patter to a relentless downpour by evening, the kind that blurred the world beyond our living room window into streaks of gray and trembling yellow porch lights. It was as if the weather itself refused to let up, mirroring the tension that still gripped our home. The house felt smaller tonight, the walls closer, the air thicker. Every sound, the tick of the clock, the clink of utensils, the low drone of the heater, seemed to amplify the silence between Marcus and me. After another wordless dinner, Zoe pushing peas into neat lines, Liam quietly chewing with his eyes trained on the table, I retreated to the kitchen, stacking plates, my hands moving on autopilot. Marcus lingered in the doorway, arms folded, his work shirt wrinkled from a long day. We hadn't spoken more than a handful of sentences since the night before. Guilt pressed on my chest, heavy and unrelenting. He cleared his throat, breaking the quiet. "Evelyn, can we talk?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. The kids' footsteps thudded upstairs, then faded. The house, for a moment, was ours alone. Marcus walked in, leaning against the counter. "I've been thinking about last night, about the kids." I braced myself, gripping the edge of the sink. "Me too. I can't stop replaying it in my head. The way they looked at us." My voice wavered, raw. I hate that they saw us like that, Marcus." He let out a shaky sigh, running his hand over his face. "We can't change it, Ev. We were frustrated. Things have been hard lately. But I never wanted them to hear that. I never wanted them to think we—" He stopped, his eyes glistening. A crack of thunder rattled the windows, as if demanding our attention. For the first time in what felt like days, Marcus and I looked at each other, really looked, and in his face I saw the same fear that haunted me. Had we done irreparable damage? I turned away, blinking back tears, focusing on the suds swirling down the drain. I don't even know how to talk to them about it. "What do you say when your kids see you at your worst?" Marcus's voice lowered. "Maybe we start by being honest. We're not perfect, but we love them. We love each other. We just forgot how to show it." His words landed somewhere deep inside me, unsettling and true. Before I could respond, a faint shuffle echoed from the hallway. I glanced up. Liam and Zoe stood at the threshold, pajamas on, hair mussed from bath time. Zoe clutched her faded pink bunny, her thumb hovering near her mouth. Liam looked at his sister, then at us, his small face tense with worry. "Can we talk to you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. My heart skipped. I dried my hands, nodding. "Of course, honey. What's on your mind?" They stepped into the kitchen, feet patting softly on the tile. Liam hesitated, then squared his shoulders the way I'd seen Marcus do when he needed courage. Are you going to stop loving each other?" The question landed with a force that stole the air from my lungs. Zoe's eyes were wide, brimming with tears that hadn't yet fallen. "Are you mad at us?" she asked, her voice so small I almost missed it. Marcus's face crumpled. He knelt down, opening his arms. "Oh no, sweetheart. No, never. Come here." The kids rushed into his embrace, and I followed, sinking to the floor beside them. We were a tangle of arms and legs and shuddering breaths, our family huddled on cold linoleum. I pulled them close, my voice thick. "Listen to me. No matter what happens, your dad and I will always love each other, and we will always, always love you. Sometimes grown-ups argue, even when they love each other very much. But it's not your fault. It's never your fault." Liam looked up, desperate for reassurance. "But you sounded so angry." I took his hands in mine. "I know, and I'm so sorry you heard that. Sometimes when people are worried or tired, they say things louder than they mean. We should have been quieter. We should have been kinder. But our love for you and for each other, nothing can change that." Marcus nodded, his voice gentle but certain. "When we argue, it doesn't mean we want to be apart. It just means we have to work things out, like teammates. Have you ever gotten mad at your sister, Liam?" Liam glanced at Zoe, a flicker of a smile breaking through. "Yeah." She took my dinosaur. Zoe protested, "You said I could borrow it." Marcus smiled, brushing Zoe's hair from her face. "But even when you're mad, do you stop loving each other?" They both shook their heads, almost in unison. "Exactly," I said softly. "Families argue sometimes. What matters is that we talk about it, we say sorry, and we keep loving each other." The kitchen felt different now, warmer, softer around the edges, as if the storm outside had eased its grip. The rain drummed steadily, but inside, something had shifted. Liam looked at me, searching my face. "You promise?" I squeezed his hand. "I promise. We both do." I looked at Marcus, and he nodded, the relief plain in his eyes. Zoe curled into my lap, thumb in her mouth, bunny pressed to her cheek. "Okay. I just wanted to make sure." For a long moment, we simply sat there, holding each other, letting the silence fill with something gentler. The kids' breathing slowed, their bodies softening against us. Marcus rested his chin on top of Liam's head, his eyes closed. I thought about my own childhood, how arguments had been swept under rugs, never named, never explained. How I'd lain awake at night, heart pounding, convinced love was as fragile as glass. I vowed quietly that our children would never have to wonder. The gravity of their question, "Are you and Dad going to stop loving each other?" settled over me. I realized then that this was the moment I'd never forget. Not the argument, not the shame, but the vulnerability in their voices and the chance to give them the security I'd always wanted myself. Later, after the kids were tucked into bed, Zoe clutching my hand until her eyelids fluttered shut, Liam insisting I promise again, the house felt lighter. The rain had eased to a soft whisper. I stood in the hallway, listening to their even breathing, the weight in my chest finally lifting. In the kitchen, Marcus waited, leaning against the table. When I joined him, he reached for my hand. "We're going to be okay," he said quietly. I nodded, hope flickering in my chest. "We have to be, for them." He pulled me close, and for the first time in days, we just held each other, no words needed. As I lay in bed that night, the echoes of the storm faded, replaced by the memory of Liam's question and the promise I'd made. I realized that question had changed everything. It forced me to see my role as a mother not just as a caretaker, but as a protector of their sense of safety, of their belief in love that endures, even through the hard moments. I'll never forget the look in their eyes, or the question that changed how I saw myself, my marriage, and our family. The house was quieter than it had been in days. Outside, the rain finally eased, leaving behind a world washed clean, sidewalks shining, grass a deeper green, the sky blooming with a hesitant late-afternoon light. Inside, the McAdams home felt tentative too, as if it were holding its breath. The echoes of that question, Liam's small, trembling voice asking, "Are you and Dad going to stop loving each other?" hung in the corners like mist. Evelyn stood at the kitchen window, watching droplets chase each other down the glass. Her reflection stared back, tired, yes, but softer around the eyes. The night before had been a turning point. She replayed the moment again and again. Not the argument, but the aftermath. The way Marcus had knelt beside the kids, his voice steady but his hands shaking a little. The way Zoe had pressed into her side, searching her face as if she could read the future there. They'd promised, honestly, that even when grown-ups argued, love didn't disappear. But as Evelyn had tucked the kids in, she realized words weren't enough. Not this time. She couldn't just hope the question faded. She needed to show them, day by day, that their family's love was bigger than any fight. She ran her thumb along the rim of her coffee mug, listening to the low hum of the refrigerator and the distant clatter of toys upstairs. She heard Marcus's footsteps before she saw him, slower than usual, like he was walking through his own thoughts. He paused in the doorway, uncertain. "Morning," he offered, voice gentle. Evelyn managed a tired smile. "Morning." He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time in days there was no shield in his eyes. "I've been thinking," he began, "about what the kids asked, about how we've been handling things." Evelyn nodded, her throat tight. Marcus took a careful breath, the kind you take before saying something important. "I don't want them to ever doubt we're a team. I don't want them to learn that love is something you can lose in a moment." She set down her mug, moved to him, and took his hand. It was a simple gesture, but it felt monumental. A bridge rebuilt plank by plank. "I don't either," she whispered. "We can do better, Marcus. For them and for us." He squeezed her hand, a little of the tension leaving his shoulders. "What do you think we should do?" Evelyn looked past him, up the staircase where she could hear muffled giggles. Zoe and Liam, already up, already in their world of pillow forts and plastic dinosaurs. She thought of all the times she'd rushed past them, lost in her list of chores or worries. She thought of Fran's words during their walk 2 days before. "It's not about being perfect in front of your kids. It's about showing them how you make things right." "I think," Evelyn said, "we start talking. To each other. And to them. No more pretending everything's fine when it isn't. And maybe we ask for help sometimes, too." Marcus nodded, his relief visible. "I want that. I want us." A few minutes later, Evelyn called the kids to breakfast. They bounded down the stairs, pajamas rumpled, hair wild. Liam hesitated at the bottom, scanning his parents' faces. Evelyn met his gaze, steady and warm. "Come here, you two," she said, opening her arms. They piled in, Zoe's arms around her waist, Liam's cheek pressed to her side. Marcus wrapped his arms around all of them, forming a huddle in the middle of the kitchen, the clatter of cereal bowls forgotten. Evelyn knelt down, bringing herself eye level with her children. "Liam, Zoe," she began, "I want to talk about what happened last night. When Mom and Dad argued, it wasn't your fault. Grown-ups sometimes disagree, but that doesn't change how much we love each other. Or you. Not ever." Zoe's brow furrowed, still unsure. "But you were yelling." Evelyn nodded. "I know, honey. We should have handled it better. We're sorry you had to hear us like that. We're still learning how to talk when we're upset, just like you are." Marcus joined in, his voice calm. "Sometimes Even adults forget to listen and to be kind when we're frustrated. But we always make up, and we always love each other. That's what matters most. Liam's shoulders relaxed, and a tiny smile tugged at his lips. So you're not mad anymore? Evelyn shook her head. No, sweetie. We're okay. And if you ever feel worried, you can always talk to us. We want you to feel safe. Zoe leaned in, whispering, Promise? Evelyn hugged her tighter. Promise. They ate together, laughter returning in little bubbles, Zoe making faces with her spoon, Liam telling a story about a dragon at school, which turned out to be a lizard in the science lab. The rain outside had stopped, and sunlight poured through the dining room window, illuminating the dust motes and the hopeful faces around the table. Later, while the kids built a castle out of couch cushions, Evelyn called Fran. She recounted the conversation, the question, the fear, and the relief. Fran listened, her voice warm with understanding. You did the right thing, Ev. Kids don't need perfect parents. They need real ones. Ones who admit when they're wrong and show how to fix it. Evelyn let out a slow breath, feeling the truth of it settle in her chest. That afternoon, when she picked Liam and Zoe up from school, she noticed a change, not just in them, but in herself. She walked taller, her smile genuine. Even Principal Briggs noticed, greeting her with a nod. Glad to see things are brighter today, Mrs. McAdams. On the walk home, Liam slipped his hand into hers. Mom? Yeah, buddy? Are you still sad? Evelyn squeezed his small fingers. Not anymore? I'm learning, just like you. He nodded, satisfied. When Marcus came home that evening, he brought a surprise, a board game the whole family could play. They cleared the living room floor, swept aside the toys and the tension, and for an hour the only arguments were about who got to be the blue piece. That night, after the kids were asleep, Evelyn and Marcus sat on the porch. The world outside was fresh and quiet, the kind of quiet that comes after a storm. They talked, really talked, about their worries, the weight of bills, the messiness of balancing work and home. They made a plan to share chores, to carve out time for each other, to ask for help when they needed it. Evelyn felt something loosen inside her. She realized she didn't have to hold everything together alone. She could lean on Marcus. She could let the kids see her try and fail and try again. She could teach them that love wasn't the absence of conflict, but the choice to work through it together. Before heading inside, Marcus took her hand. We're doing okay, Ev. She smiled up at him, a real, weary, hopeful smile. Yeah, we really are. And as she turned off the porch light, Evelyn knew she'd never forget the question her children had asked, or the lesson it had brought into their lives. Sometimes, the hardest moments open the door to the most important changes, not just in a family, but in ourselves. Now, if you've ever faced a tough moment with your family, if you found yourself wishing you could take back something your kids overheard, or struggled to find the right words, know that you're not alone. These moments don't define us. It's what we do next that matters. So, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have your kids ever surprised you with a question that changed your perspective? Share your story below. I read everyone, and your experiences might help someone else who's going through the same thing. If you found this story meaningful, please give it a like. It really helps others find it too. And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories about family, love, and the small moments that shape us. Hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Thank you for spending this time with me and my family. Remember, storms will pass. What matters is how we come together when the rain stops.